Hello, book two for June 2020. The days are going by, the months are going by. It's hot. We're entering a heat wave, so excuse me if I wipe um, my sweat. We're doing, we were 8 years of power, and we're just moving. We're just moving through the month. A lot of information, good information. And I'm reading specifically from his essay, A Case for Reparations. Reparations is in the air. Black Americans may actually get something for maybe, I would say, the second time in this country. I would say Reconstruction, we got a little something for a short period. We had a little bit of control during Jim Crow of our own things, but it really wasn't much. And we haven't had much control of anything or much of anything in the last 50, 60 years. So it's good that reparations is in the air. We inherit our ample patrimony. In 1783, the freedwoman Belinda Royal petitioned the Commonwealth of Massachusetts for reparations. Belinda had been born in modern-day Ghana. She was kidnapped as a child and sold into slavery. She endured the Middle Passage and 50 years of enslavement at the hands of Isaac Royal and his son. But the junior Royal, a British loyalist, fled the country during the Revolution. Belinda, now free after half a century of labor, besieged the nascent Massachusetts legislature. The face of your petitioner is now marked with the furrows of time, and her frame bending under the oppression of years, while she, by the laws of the land, is denied the employment of one morsel of that immense wealth, a part whereof hath been accumulated by her own industry, and the whole augmented by her servitude. Wherefore, casting herself at your feet, if your honors as a body of men, formed for the extirpation of vassalage, for the reward of virtue, and just return of honest industry, she prays that such allowance may be made her out of the estate of Colonel Royal, as will prevent her and her more infirm daughter from misery in the greatest extreme, and scatter comfort over the short and downward path of their lives. Belinda Royal was granted a pension of £15 and 12 shillings to be paid out of the estate of Isaac Royal. One of the earliest successful attempts to petition for reparations at the time, black people in America had endured more than 150 years of enslavement, and the idea that they might be owed something in return was, if not the national consensus, at least not outrageous. A heavy account lies against us as a civil society for oppressions committed against people who did not injure them, wrote the Quaker John Woolman in 1769, and that if the particular case of many individuals were fairly stated, it would appear that there was considerable due to them. As the historian Roy E. Finkelbein once or has documented, at the dawn of this country, black reparations were actively considered and often effected. Quakers in New York, New England, and Baltimore went so far as to make membership contingent upon compensating one's former slaves. In 1782, the Quaker Robert Pleasants emancipated his 78 slaves, granted them 350 acres, and later built a school on their property and provided for their education. The doing of this justice to the injured Africans, wrote Pleasants, would be an acceptable offering to him who rules in the kingdom of men. Edward Coles, a protege of Thomas Jefferson, who became a slaveholder through inheritance, took many of his slaves north and granted them a plot of land in Illinois. John Randolph, a cousin of Jefferson's, willed that all his slaves be emancipated upon his death, and that all those older than 40 be given 10 acres of land. I give and bequeath to all my slaves their freedom, Randolph wrote, heartily regretting that I have been the owner of one. In his book Forever Free, Eric Foner recounts the story of a disgruntled planter reprimanding a freedman loafing on the job. Planter, you lazy nigger, I'm losing a whole day's labor by you. Freedman, massa, how many days' labor have I lost by you? In the 20th century, the case of reparations was taken up by a diverse cast that included the Confederate veteran Walter R. Vaughan, who, wait a minute, who believed that reparations would be a stimulus for the South. The black activist Callie House, black nationalist leaders like Queen Mother, Audley Moore, and the civil rights activist James Forman. The movement coalesced in 1987 under an umbrella organization called the National Coalition of Blacks for Reparations in America, NCOBRA. Oh, that's where NCOBRA comes from. The NAACP endorsed reparations in 1993. Charles J. Ogletree, Jr., a professor at Harvard Law School, has pursued reparations claims in court. So we'll stop there. And if you're saying, well, some black people got reparations depending on the master, that's probably true, like in this book, but it was all taken away. Everything the blacks got was taken away through terror from organizations like the Ku Klux Klan and just town mobs and city mobs and things like that. So it's a shame because if what little we had not gotten taken away or had not been stolen, we don't know what kind of society we would be in right now. So it's good to think about these days as we think about moving forward. Until next time, I thank you for your support. Take care of your mind, take care of your body. Oh, and I'll be adding a new thing for my patrons. Look for it later.